Okay, it's recording.
Okay.
And now you are the host. Wait, right? Now, okay. And it's
Is this
recording.
Still recording? Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. How many people we're gonna have?
You know, we didn't do an RSVP thing. It's hard to say. If maybe we
okay.
wait until, just wait maybe a couple more minutes in case people
Yep.
are having trouble joining us. For the sake of the recording, this is the active shooter training presented by Deputy Joe Knapp from the Allegan County Sheriff's Department. Mary, you don't know how many people are joining us, do you? You're on mute.
I had 4 people who can RSVP'd, and then so I would expect at least 4.
Oh, okay, good.
I will say I went through this in Van Buren County with the Domestic Violence Coalition, and I thought it was so interesting. And I will tell you, now I go into a room and I think about, okay, what's my exit plan? It's just so good to have these conversations, to really think about it. And I expected to be more scared, and instead I felt more empowered. So I just want to say I totally geeked that we're doing this.
And where was that at? Van Buren?
In Van Buren, yeah. And you don't ask me the 2 officers' names because I'm just moved to Van Buren a few years ago, so I don't know people. But
Okay.
it was so good. And they came to New Hope Fellowship where we were having the meeting.
Oh, okay.
And so they showed us like the different things we could do. And it was just so exceptional. I just really got a lot out of it.
We were trained by the same people, so
Okay.
a lot of this will be probably repetitive for you, but probably a good refresher.
Yeah, that's okay, because I think the more you imprint it, the more it's just more instinctive that, you know, you think about it.
You probably had Wayne, one of the guys, the EOC instructor, but maybe not.
I don't remember. They just did a super good job. It was just very neat.
Now you're putting a lot of pressure on me. Thanks.
Well, and one of the guys that's on our board that also is a volunteer, he's ex-military.
Mhm.
And so he had a lot that he could add to it too. It was just really incredible. But if there's an active shooter, I just know I want you guys to show up right away. But I thought about it when I was at the Wings home last night. Teresa, I was thinking about it as I was sitting with the one patient who was declining and did pass away just right at the end of the shift. And I'm like, if this happened right now, like, what would I do? And so I'm like, I'm just really interested to hear about what happens there, because they're not locking doors, and there's, you know, and it's like thinking about the different rooms. And so I'm very excited to hear about that from specifically the Wings home perspective and having patience. So
Teresa and I have,
I'm just excited. This is cool.
no, Teresa and I had that conversation when I was down there and walked through the house there on Lynn Street, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm thinking you might as well get started
Okay.
because we're recording it. And I'm hopeful that other people will be able to join us, but I don't
Okay.
want to make people wait that
All right.
that showed up on time.
Okay, let's do this. And I'm gonna get started with my PowerPoint. I'll introduce myself. I've got a slide there, but I'm Deputy Joe Knapp with the Allegan County Sheriff's Department. Been there 23 years. I'm an active shooter instructor. I'll do this so you can see it. I'm an active shooter instructor. I was a former SWAT guy for 18 years. I finally let the young guys take that over. I spent 5 years in the military. I was part of the combat readiness force when I was stationed over in Germany. Yeah, and I'm a dad. I got five kids and 2 grandkids. My grandson turned 9 today, and my granddaughter will turn a month old in about 4 days. So that's a little bit about me. And where did my PowerPoint go? There it is. There we go. I need to do this. Sorry, you don't need to see all my settings. One thing we want to do when we think about this active shooter and active assailant stuff is we want to be prepared, not paranoid. Myself and the other instructors that are under me at the Sheriff's Department, that's what we talk about a lot, because we don't need to run around. That's why I got Chicken Little here. We don't need to run around thinking that the sky is falling all the time, right? We want to be prepared, but we don't want to be prepared or paranoid, because you were probably more in danger of getting hurt going to the grocery store today, or going to the gas station, or even driving into work. So, and if anybody's got any questions while I'm going through this, just pipe in and say whatever you need or ask your questions. There's sheeps, there's wolves, and there's sheep dogs, right? Law enforcement and people, or the sheep are no capacity for violence. They're healthy, productive citizens. Wolves are capacity for violence. They have no empathy for their fellow citizens. And sheepdogs are, we have a capacity for violence, but we have a deep love for our fellow citizens too. So that's basically, most law enforcement and church safety teams consider themselves sheepdogs. We're watching over the sheep, and we hope the day never comes that the wolf shows up. But when the wolf does show up, we're going to be prepared and ready to take action. And there's a couple little funny things I used with Wile E. Coyote and the cartoons. Some statistics for you. The FBI does them every 5 years. So some of these statistics are a little out of date, but they haven't refreshed them yet. Between 1999 and 2006, there were 6.4 incidents and annually. That number went up to 16.4, 2006 to 2013. 70% of these are ended in 5 minutes or less. That's why, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, but the people on the scene where this incident is happening are the true first responders. Law enforcement and EMS and fire department are just the professional first responders. And like I said, how many of you were afraid to drive today? In 2017, there were nearly 40,000 deaths on the roads. Mass shooting deaths between 2013 and 2018, there were 1,875. So you're way more likely to get hurt in an automobile accident than you are being a victim of an active assailant or active shooter. Be prepared, not paranoid. You guys are the true first responders. Have a plan and practice your plan as often as you can. Be aware of your environment, possible dangers. Know what's going on outside your building. Don't just be concerned on what's happening inside your building, but know what's going on around you and outside. And these, I didn't say this earlier, but these are things you can use not only for work, but when you go out to the mall, or you go out to dinner with your family, or you're at the shopping center, because most of these incidences happen away from the workplace. So involve law enforcement, which you guys have already done. Have a proper mindset. Don't think that the reason we don't like, and some people might know about the federal run, hide, fight, we don't like that model because it's, first off, it's linear. They say you have to run, then you have to hide, then you have to fight. And we don't like the word hide, because all you're doing is playing a deadly game of hide and seek. In Virginia Tech, when that shooting took place, most of the people that were killed because they were hiding under a desk. And what the proper mindset is that you have to have a say in what you're in the outcome of the incident. So have a crisis kit ready, employee roster, emergency contacts, first aid kit, right? You must do something just like I just said, don't just sit there and be a victim, have a say in the outcome of the incident. There's a lot of factors that go into this: personal conflicts, terminations. You guys in your hospice homes, maybe somebody got upset because of the bill they got for the care, or about the treatment that's going on. Sometimes robbery, drug and alcohol problems. Maybe one of your employees is going through a divorce or relationship problems, and the boyfriend or husband knows that person, he or she, is going to be at work between 9 and 5 every day, and they know exactly where they're going to go to work. If they want to inflict pain, or if they want to do harm to that person, they know that that's where they're at. That's what happened with the Sutherland Springs shooting, the one down where the Baptist church got shot up. That guy was looking for his ex-wife, and he knew that she was going to be at church at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. That's where she always is. So, that's something else to think about too. Maybe you're having financial or legal problems, other family conflicts, and a big one right now is mental health issues. Your facilities and equipment, entry and exit doors, right? Parking lots, where are they? How do you get to the parking lot or the driveway from where you're at? Is there proper lighting outside? Do you have lighting to where you can see outside if you're standing inside and somebody were to approach the house or the building? Will you be able to detect them before it's too late? That goes right hand in hand with landscaping. We don't want shrubs and stuff growing up over the windows to where you can't see out the windows, or be able to detect somebody coming towards your building or the residence where you're at. Surveillance video or surveillance cameras, a PA system. Teresa and I talked about this when I was at the house there on Lynn Street, just down from the hospital in Allegan. You have a way of notifying all the patients. Okay, do we have medical equipment on site? AED, first aid kit that are reasonably and easily available or readily available. And do you have radios, or do you have ways to alert other people? That I don't know how many people you have working at one time, but if you're both there, do you have ways to communicate if one goes outside to do something or take a patient outside? Do you have a way to communicate with them, so if there is something going on inside, that they don't come back into an incident or come back into danger? Normalcy bias, it's a mental state people enter in a disaster. Okay, your mind tells you it's not what it is, what it really is. Columbine, the shooting out in Las Vegas at the concert, the country concert. A lot of people will say, well, I thought it was just fireworks. And Columbine, the school shooting there, same thing. They thought it was just somebody doing a school theater thing, and they thought it was just fireworks until they determined that it wasn't. The Highway 90 shooting out in Las Vegas, same thing. The people there were enjoying the country music, and they thought, wow, this is really great. This guy's got fireworks going on. And then all of a sudden people started falling next to him and bleeding, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, we're in trouble, we got to do something. Another way to look at it is somebody drops a book. If I hear a loud bang when I'm in a school or I'm out at a mall or something like that, the first thing my mind goes to is, what was that, a shot? And I always say that it's always a gunshot until I prove it different. So what to expect: remain calm as possible. Provide as much information to the dispatcher as you can. They're going to want to stay on the line with you. If you cannot stay on the line with the dispatcher after you make that initial 911 call, just put the phone down. Don't hang it up. Just put it down. That way the dispatcher can hear what's going on inside the building or the residence, or wherever you're at, and then they can relay that information to the professional first responders that are coming. When we get to where the problem is, our initial thing is going to be stop the threat. Okay, we're not concerned about, we are concerned about injuries and all that, but our main number one priority is to stop the threat, so we don't have more casualties. You know, the attitude will never happen. Here is a losing one, right? If you think, hey, we're never going to have an incident where we need to go into a lockdown at one of our facilities, that's a losing attitude. You're not prepared. Your mindset is not a winning mindset. You're guaranteeing yourself to be a role of the sheep, right? I'm just going to be here and somebody else is going to take care of me and somebody else is going to look after me. You know, it happens here. It has happened in our county. We have had an active shooter in our county. It happened up here in Hamilton at Dog Life probably 15 years ago. A husband-wife relationship. Husband was upset, knew that his wife and her new boyfriend were working at Pet Life here in Hamilton. He came there with a gun and shot her, and then eventually shot himself before we were able to get inside. But so it has happened in Allegan County. So this is the run, you know, the Strategos model is the 3 outs, and you got that paper, right, Teresa? You sent that out. I think I saw that on an email.
Yes.
Okay. And the reason we use the run, because the federal government put that out, paid a lot of money to put that out, but some people still, if they've watched that video, my wife still does it. Oh, I got to run first. No, you have to get out, not run, get out. So they say take as many people as possible with you. Don't let others slow you down. If you're getting out, this goes hand in hand with the federal guidelines of run. Okay, get away from the violence, call 911, describe the shooter. And females are way better at describing people than males are. It's proven. You know, a male may say, well, he had blue jeans on and a pair of black shoes and, you know, a black shirt. Whereas a female will say, well, he had Levi 505 jeans on, he had penny loafers on, they were black, and he had a polo that looked like it came from Old Navy or something like that. So females are way better at describing suspects and people than males are. If you encounter law enforcement, don't grab us, just listen to what we're telling you to do. And make sure you keep your hands up. We'll be yelling at you, talking to you. Practice your evacuation routes, right? I say this when I was on the SWAT team. I always, all the time, I had a chair in my bedroom that had my SWAT clothes laid out every night in case I got a call in the middle of the night. I didn't want to be waking everybody up in my house to find my stuff. So I laid that out every night, and most of the time it just laid there, unless I used it for training or other purposes. So, you know, have that plan. These are just some different types of guns, right? This is obviously a pistol. This is a shotgun, another shotgun. Reason I put that up there is some of these are scary. All you need to tell the dispatcher is he's got a handheld gun or a rifle or a shotgun. These are all rifles up here in the right-hand corner, and all these down here on the bottom and the left lower corner are shotguns. And this is obviously a pistol. If you don't know, just say he's got a long gun or he's got a short gun. Those law enforcement, we know the difference in those two. You know, we can differentiate, most of us. The hide or the reason we don't like hide is, like I said before, you're hiding under a desk. You don't have a say in what is going to happen to you. Okay, that's why the Strategos model, which everybody in the southwest corner from Battle Creek to the Indiana state line and from Holland south use the Strategos model, and that's a lockout, which is you know, get out, lock the person out if you can. If you can't, you need to get out, which is the first option. and get away from the building, get away from it as quick as you can. Sometimes you might have to make a tough decision. You know, can I get this patient out of the room and get myself away? Or am I only going to be able to get myself out and that patient is going to have to stay in the room? It goes against everything we talk about. And when we do this with teachers, I do a little exercise with them at this point, and I have them, when they lock their rooms, they don't open that room for anybody, not even a kindergartner banging on the door, because it becomes a math problem for them, right? If you open that door and the shooter gets in, now you've got 20 dead people as versus one dead person. And when I do that, and sometimes I get choked up too, especially now having grandkids. But when I do that, some of the teachers are tearing up. They're like, I don't know if I can make that decision. And that's a tough, that makes them think, puts them in a tough spot. But when you do lock out, you need to lock, layer, reinforce, barricade that door with everything you've got, and don't let anybody in until you know 100% that it's the law enforcement. And if you're behind a locked door, most of the time facilities have keys, facility managers have keys, and we'll key in and we'll announce before we come in. Try to keep your phone silent or quiet. That's just so if there's somebody in the residence or in the building, they can't tell where anybody's at, and you more than likely won't become a victim. Try to stay out of sight or vision of windows. And the one big thing is law enforcement will find a way to get in, and you'll know it's us. One of the teachers in Sandy Hook, she did an interview. She had the kindergarten class. She locked her kids all in a bathroom. The law enforcement came, knocked on a door, and she told them, well, if you're law enforcement, show me your badge or your ID. They slid her badge ID under the door. She looked at it and still didn't believe them. So she said, well, if you were really law enforcement, you'll figure out a way to get in here. And they went on and cleared the rest of the building and then came back to her about 2 hours later. But they keyed in. So she did a great job. It's Diane Sawyer interview from Sandy Hook. If you look it up on the internet, you can find it on YouTube. So takeout is a last resort, right? But you may have to take out to get out. You may come around a corner and run into the assailant or the bad person, the suspect, and you may have to do something to him or her to be able to get out of the building or to be able to, lock out. But you have to do it with physical aggression. You have to commit to your actions. Your life depends on it. You have to have a survival mindset. You have to do anything and everything you can to stop that action that the aggressor is doing to you or trying to do to you. And we talk about it a lot when we're in church, when I do churches, that if you pick up a hymnal and throw it at somebody that's trying to shoot at you or stab you or do something else, they can't do that stuff if they're dodging hymnals or books or Bibles or anything like that. If somebody's trying to harm you, they can't do a lot if you've jabbed a ballpoint pen in their neck or something like that. So we have to have a plan, and you must do something. Like I said earlier, you can't just sit there and hope and pray that law enforcement gets there before they find you, or that they stop before they get to you. Have a say in your outcome. Next, we're going to talk about the OODA loop. Okay, it's a process everybody goes through. You guys just you've never had a word put to it. Okay, it's a big word, OODA, but everybody does it every day. You guys just don't know that you've done it before. And what it is observe, right? See what's going on. Like when you're driving a car. Okay, here's how you use your OODA loop. And I'm going to go through all 4 of them real quick, but here's how you use your OODA loop every day when you're driving a car. You're driving down the road and you see a stop ahead sign. Okay, I see what's going on. I have to orient myself. Okay, the stop ahead sign's here. The stop sign's up there. I have to decide, okay, I have to take my foot off the gas and put my foot on the brake and that's where I act. And then when I get to the stop sign, I stop. See what I mean? You guys have done it before, but you've never had a word put to it. So, and this goes same with the suspects, right? Or the bad people. They go through this too. You know, I always use the example, I've never been involved in an active shooter except for the one up here at Dog Life, but I was on a perimeter with a SWAT team, and we didn't get to rush in and do anything. He took care of everything himself. But I've gone through this process 100 times in my head when I do training, when I'm just sitting around and I think, okay, if I was driving past Hamilton Middle School right now and I saw a guy running there with a gun, what am I doing? I can get through this quickly. Or if I'm on a traffic stop and I see a guy pull up behind me and pull a gun out as he's getting out of his car, I've got to orient, I've got to observe, orient, decide, and act real quickly. And you do that through training. So the decide your best course of action and then take action on what happened, right? Have a plan, know your plan. Have evacuation routes clearly marked. Know your areas for lockdown, tornado, and weather. I talked to Teresa about that. Where do we, in the house there on Lynn Street, where are we going, or where do we put people for a tornado? How do we get the patients out of their rooms? How do we move them away from the windows or get them out away from the windows in case of a tornado or the roof collapse from snow load on one end of that house? How are we getting them out or down to another area of the building? How are we going to do that? Do we have a plan for that? Know where you're going to lock out. I talked to Teresa, a little bit about locking out in the garage. That way you've got a couple get out options and you've got some takeout options if you have to go there. We talked about doors, locks on the doors to the patient's rooms also. So be vigilant. When you're sitting around after I don't know exactly how everything works. My grandpa was in a hospice home for a while up in Muskegon County, but I know they feed them and then, they put them to bed or do whatever they need to do. In your downtime, start thinking about some of these things. Start thinking, okay, if somebody busts through that front door right now, or somebody broke in through the back door, what am I going to do? How am I going to react? Is there ways, what can I do? Do some de-escalation techniques, call 911, remain calm, stall the person as long as you can. If they're upset because of a bill that they've received from the hospice home or something like that, try to calm them down, reassure them that somebody's coming. And that's another way that if you can't talk on the phone, just dial 911 and set the phone down where there's an open line and we'll come check it out. We do it all the time. And if it ends up being nothing, it ends up being nothing, but we'd rather be there for nothing than be there for something bad happening. Best course of actions, right? Call 911, get us coming as quickly as possible. Use calming posture, your body positioning. Don't get too close to people. When I'm on duty, and sometimes it takes over when I'm off duty too, is I don't let anybody within 3 feet of me. If you're within 3 feet of me, you better be hugging or kissing me. And nobody that I deal with out on the street or when I talk to people in businesses are my family. So nobody should be hugging or kissing me. So that's how I say that, your body posture. Don't let people get too close. Position of your hands, right? If you're talking to somebody and they're starting to get upset, don't stand there with your hands in your pockets. You have to be able to defend yourself, and start preparing for defense. If they're really amped up and you can see it, their face is turning red, they're scowling, their eyebrows are down, start preparing, start thinking, okay, if this guy's going to do something or this person's going to do something to me, what am I going to do to respond to that? Just like Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson, I think everybody probably knows who Mike Tyson was. One of the smartest things he ever said, and he never said very many smart things, but one of the smartest things he ever said was, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right? If I go to an incident or you're talking to somebody and all of a sudden they punch you in the face, it's going to mess up your OODA loop for a minute. You're going to be like, whoa, wait a minute, what just happened? He just punched me in the face, or she just punched me in the face. Now I've got to decide what I'm going to do. I got to orientate myself, right? And then I've got to decide and act on what I'm going to do. Their body language, are their hands in their pockets? Do they have objects in their hands? Are they preparing to fight? Are they preparing, to run? On law enforcement, we call it Jimmy legs. If somebody starts moving around a lot when I'm talking to them, we get this feeling, and it's like, yep, he's getting ready to run. So usually that's when we grab them and put handcuffs on them until we figure out what's going on. But do they have objects in their hands? Do they have something they can hurt you with? Stab, poke, scrape, scratch, anything like that? Do they have those? And then we go to the 3 C's, which is confident, right? Speak slowly. And I might be speaking too fast tonight, but speak slowly. Try not to raise your voice. Avoid staring at them or being confrontational with them. Don't stare them right in the eyes, and don't point your fingers at them, or tell them, no, that's dumb, you're stupid, or anything like that. What we want to do is we want to keep them calm as possible for as long as possible until law enforcement gets there. And then, like I said, create that space that we call it a reactionary gap. And you do it when you're driving, when you're in a car and you see somebody slow down, you don't speed up and get right on their bumper. You have that reactionary gap. That way you can react to what they're doing. And if you've got that 3 feet rule away from people that aren't your family, that's a pretty good, they've got to move their hips or move their feet or step towards you to do something to you with their hands. Put an object. Did somebody have a question? I'm sorry. No? Okay. Put an object between you, right? Create space. If they get into the Lynn Street house, if they're in there and you have a chance, put the kitchen table between you, put a recliner between you and them. Give them, create that space so you can react if they decide to do something. Be a good witness, right? Sometimes if they're in there, and this is more for robbery or something like that, but be a good witness. And I already went over the women are good witnesses thing. If you have more than one person, or you can get more than one person down to where you're at and where you're confronting this person, outnumber them. 2 is better than 1. Most people will not try to fight with 2 people or do something when there's 2 people there, as versus just one-on-one. Know your limitations, know your abilities and your strengths, right? Me, I'm a pretty big guy. I can handle just about anybody, but can I run 5 miles to catch somebody? No, I can't. There's no way I would even attempt to do that. But if you need a door kicked in or something, I'm your guy. That's why I was an entry man on the SWAT team. I was able to bust the doors in. But if you need somebody to run after somebody for 5 miles, I'm not your guy. I'll be done in about half a mile, and I'll be waiting. Probably need the EMTs and the AED. Require some type of training for all your new staff members. Regular and continual training. Do some tabletops exercises. If you're ever in the house there with another person, go just sit there and talk for 5 minutes about, hey, if somebody broke through the door, what are we doing? What are you doing? What am I doing? What could we do? What can't we do? Is there anything else we can, and talk through it and say, well, yeah, that'd be a good idea, but maybe picking up the kitchen chair and hitting the person with it first, and then trying to get to the garage where we can lock out, or, another patient's room where we can lock the doors and call 911 and get people there. Practical exercises, you can run those. I don't know if Teresa would want to do one with real live patients in your homes and stuff, but I could play a bad guy and walk in and say, all right, I'm here. I need to talk to so-and-so about this or about that. What, you know, and then we can go from there on how we do the exercise. But and then your mental reps, right? I just talked about that. Do mental reps while you're sitting there. Okay, we're sitting here watching TV or you're sitting there talking with your other coworker. What are we gonna do if it's snowing like crazy out and the roof collapses on the other end of the building? What are we gonna do? How are we gonna do it? Right? You don't have to sit there and wait for the roof to collapse from snow on the other end of the building to get a mental rep in. And that'll also get you through your OODA loop quicker when it does happen. I'm about done, Teresa. So last thing, be prepared, not paranoid, right? That's when me and Sergeant Hunt, a guy that started this program at the Sheriff's Department before we went through Strategos training, we were doing this on our own. And that was our big motto, be prepared, not paranoid. Law enforcement's coming, but, you know, and our sole goal or our initial goal is to save lives and eliminate the threat. We'd lay down our lives for you. We're trained to do so and we'll do without hesitation. But our goal is to make sure everybody's safe in our community. So does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Lori. Sorry.
So when I was at the home last night thinking about this, there are lots of exits from the home. I will say, like, a lot.
Yep.
But the one when I went through that active training before, they were telling us more barricading because the amount of time it would take for you to get to the house if you knew. I mean, like you said, in 5 minutes it's over. They
Yep.
said barricading is probably better because if you're running, especially at the home where there's tons of windows, they can watch us run.
Yep.
And so they were saying to barricade. But I mean, short of putting the furniture in front of the door, which we could do, there's not much around to barricade. Like when we did it at the church, we have those doors that have like the scissor tops. I don't know what they're really called,
Yep.
but
Yep.
and they showed us how easy it was to make that door not open. But
Yep.
we have regular doors.
Right.
So do you recommend we leave or barricade?
Well, it all depends on the situation, right? When people ask me questions, when we're done with this, I put the question back on them. What are your outs?
Mm-hmm.
Can you get out? Can you get out of the situation? And what you want to do is you want to get out to lockout is your main goal, is to get out to lockout if you have to. So, you know, for instance, if they get in that front door, right? Or you see them coming up to the front door, lock it, barricade it as much as you can, and then get away from the front of the house, run to the back corner or run to another area of the house where you can't be seen, and call 911.
Mm-hmm.
So does that answer your question?
Yes, but Teresa, what is our stance on the patients? It's knowing our patients, there's no way we're going to get our patients to safety if the guy's in the house.
That's right. And when I met with Deputy Knapp, that was one of the questions I asked him. And the answer is a difficult one. I'll turn it back over to you, Deputy Knapp.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's the math problem, right? Like I talked about.
Yeah.
It's, are you going to save yourself or are you going to risk your life in a no-win situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they're coming in there to do harm and they want to do harm to a lot of people, your best bet is to get out of there and call 911 and get law enforcement coming as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Or barricade in a room with, you know, some of them and move the furniture if you can. There's a lot of ladies that work there, right? I've never seen very many men that are, right? And is there stuff in the rooms that you can position that you can easily move? You know, like me, I could probably throw a couch in front of a door, but most of the females working at the house aren't going to be able to throw a couch in front of the door. quickly.
Well, and the thing is, the house is not very big. So
Right,
by the time he's in, the time that it takes him to get down the hall, there's no way I can even get a bed in front of the door.
right, right. That's what I talked to Teresa about is if the bad day comes, get to the garage and get that door locked. And we talked about the locks on the door at the garage. Or it was a garage, I think. It's the storage
Yeah.
area now, but yeah. Yep.
But are you talking about the meeting room? Because the door into the garage locks from the inside. The
We
door
talked
from the
about-
house into the garage locks on the inside,
Mhm.
not on the
Right.
garage side.
Oh,
Right.
that's a good point. That's a
Cause
good
I'm
point.
like, when you were talking about the garage, I'm like, that's gonna do no good. I can't keep him out of the garage.
Now that you bring that up,
Oh.
I think we did discuss that, Teresa, about switching that. So it could be locked from the outside, from the
Yep,
garage side.
Yep.
And I think if I remember right, we also talked about maybe putting a deadbolt in it. But I don't remember that for sure.
You know, I think, yes, I think you're right. I think we sure did. And we also talked about putting locks on each of the bedroom doors and leaving the doors locked but open.
Yep.
Because I don't know how often how often the caregivers shut the door all the way. You know, I'm guessing that doesn't happen very often, that you
No, it's a
leave it
lot.
open
They're usually shut. Cause if
all
they're
the way.
sleeping, yeah, because like if there's a patient that's more loud and disruptive, like last night, the doors were shut. And I will say
Oh, okay.
the majority of the time, the doors are shut.
Oh, okay.
And like I said, like I think I told this to Teresa, I can make suggestions. You guys have to go with what works for you. But I can make suggestions that we put locks and deadbolts on every door that only unlock from the outside, but they're always locked in a locked position. So all you have to do is grab it and pull it shut, right?
Mhm.
But I don't write the checks, and I don't write the checks to get all that done. But that is one cheap, and I think we talked about it, Teresa, too, it's a relatively cheap fix for that, is to have those doors with all keyed locks, and you can get them all keyed the same and do it that way, have them locked. And then all you got to do is if something happens, just pull them shut real quick if they're not shut already.
The other thing I was thinking about last night is I don't carry my cell phone around in the house. My cell phone is generally in the kitchen. Now, that doesn't mean I shouldn't start carrying it. But if I don't have pockets or whatever, that's not something I thought about until last night. We have 2 phones, but one's in the kitchen and one's in the bathroom. Like I said, to go in the bathroom, I can't barricade myself in the bathroom. So to get to a phone to call, I was thinking about that last night. I don't know that I could call and still be in the house.
Diane, one of the things, because I'm on call 24/7, I wear a fanny pack pretty much everywhere I go when I'm home. If I go outside
Uh-huh.
to feed the animals, if I go down to the basement to do the laundry, and I've always got my phone on me. But that's how I do
Okay.
it, because I most of my pants don't have pockets.
Yeah.
But that works really well. You know, I mean, I could see us having 5 or 6 fanny packs just at the house, and
Yeah.
you just take it off when you leave. But that might be a way to carry your phone with you.
Yeah, that's a good idea because your hands are full, right? And so I'm
Yep.
not thinking about carrying my phone around
Right.
because I don't have it like Bill has his clipped on him. I don't. So that's a good
Right.
idea. But I wanted to bring that up because like accessibility to a phone to call, because man, that to me is just urgent. You gotta like be moving and calling at the same time. And that was a concern.
And that's, and oh, that's good, Diane. It's a change of mindset, right? I have to have a phone on me. Now, how
Yeah.
am I going to make sure I have a phone on me all the time?
Yep,
So
agree.
it's a change in your mindset, and it's a change in your way of thinking.
Joe, I had one question. If someone has a rifle,
Huh?
does it go like if there's only 4 bedrooms in the home where the
Mhm.
patients are and they can't see us, can they shoot through the walls? Like, is it pointless?
No, it's not pointless. they're shooting blind if they're shooting through the walls, but that's why we try to keep silent and quiet as much as possible while we're in the rooms.
Yeah,
But it's the same thing. If you barricade, the more layers you put between yourself and the person, the safer you're going to be.
yeah. Well, and it was interesting when I went through the training before and they showed us, you know, barricading even with something lighter, and how you can just put the lighter things behind each other. The whole point is if he can't open the door, and showing us how to sit even on the floor and brace our
Yep.
back against the wall against the bed.
Yep.
They can't get in just from, and it was just amazing to me how as a smaller woman, we can actually stop a big guy from coming in the room.
Yep.
It was just quite empowering, I shall say.
Right. Yep.
To know
And
that
that's
I
what-
don't have to be afraid.
Right. And that's what we like to do is it's amazing when we do teacher, go to schools and do teachers and stuff. They're all timid at first, but then once you empower them and show them things to do, then they're like, oh, well, I can do that. Somebody would say, well, I could never keep Joe out of a room if he was trying to get in by just laying on the floor and putting my hands against, or my feet against there and my back against the wall or my back against the bed. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, you can.
Yeah.
And once they see that and feel that, they're like, oh, well, I could do something then.
Yeah.
And that's where a hands-on practical exercise would be beneficial, right? To
Mhm.
come in and show some things, but just talking about it gets your mind thinking about it also.
One of the things that we talked about too the day that you came to visit was that it's really difficult to get all the caregivers in one place to have a practical training, which is why I wanted to do this online version and a Zoom meeting and have it recorded. But we have done fire drills where we just have, we had the Allegan fire chief just come in at random times.
Yeah.
And so if you would be open to something like that, maybe we could, you and I could schedule it, but not tell the
Yep.
caregivers when we're coming,
Right.
kind of thing. And we could sort of do some of those.
Something like that. Yep. And I could just come knock on the door or whatever, or just walk in. If it's, do you guys keep that front door locked all the time?
No.
I don't remember what we talked about.
No.
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
It might
Did
be
we-
something you want to do, right?
We used to do that at night, I thought. Are we not doing that anymore? Once it's
At
dark?
night, yeah,
At night, when it gets dark is when I thought we locked it.
yeah.
Okay. Might be something to start thinking about during the day too, right? Because people get angry and upset during the day just as much as they do at night.
Yep.
Law enforcement side, we're always like, oh, the day guys, all the older dudes. And it's like, well, we deal with the same thing night people deal with, except for most of the time, the night people have alcohol or drugs on board. During the day, they don't. They're not as drunk, or not all the time, but so things still happen during the day that you need to be aware of and conscious of. So
To me, one of the things that was the most remarkable thing that you said is when you started that we're at greater risk of getting into a car accident than
Right.
this happening.
Yep.
It's when you look at those odds, it's really that's empowering as well.
Yep, it is. And the be prepared, not paranoid thing. If you're prepared, you're good to go, right? If you've got a plan, and that's half the problem solving is having a plan for what's going to happen or what's going on. But yeah, you're more likely to get in a car accident than you are to be a victim of one of these active assailants. We don't like to call them active shooters anymore because they're stabbing people and using cars. So we call them active assailants, but
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
shooter is, a harsh word. So,
Yep. Another thing that I heard once in a different kind of training was really helpful in changing my perspective, and it seems like it might apply here. And that's if I am in a vulnerable situation, say outside, on a dark street, which I would not do by choice. But if somebody's coming and I felt threatened, my immediate reaction was, oh, I'm in danger, and to be afraid. But then the trainer said, okay, now imagine that you have a child standing behind you. And the mindset was totally different. It's like, there's no way I'm going to let this guy get past me because this child is behind me and I'm going to protect them. And it was just a way of changing the mindset about the perception of the event.
Yep. And being situation aware, knowing that person that might be coming to get you or do harm to you before they're on top of you and grabbing you. You know, being aware of being aware of your surroundings is a big thing. Not walking and looking at your phone all the time. You see people doing it all the time. They're down, they got their head down, they're walking around and looking at their phone. You know, what's going on around them.
Yep, absolutely. Does anybody else have any other questions or thoughts? Ideas?
And if you do, you still got my shared screen up. That's my email address down there, jknapp@allegancounty.org. Shoot me an email if you think about something later or next week, or you just want to ask another question that comes up while you're at work. Shoot me an email or give it to Teresa, and Teresa can shoot me an email, and I can do my best to get it answered for you.
Yeah, that would be great if you sent it to me, because then I could share it with everybody.
The whole staff, maybe. Yeah. Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
all of the caregivers. Yep, that would be
Then you
great.
can share it out from there.
Yep. Well, Deputy Knapp, thank you so much. This has been just tremendous. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your generosity
get
of the information and your time. Yeah, thank you.
Tried to get it done quick because I know it's dinner time. So.
Yeah.
But, so if anybody, like I said, if anybody has any questions, get them to Teresa, and then I'll get them answered for you and get it back to you as soon as I can. I want to thank you guys for coming and participating. Right, this is part of your starting to be prepared and being ready for something.
Yep. Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording now, and we can call it a night.
All right, have a good night. Thanks.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.